Greetings, owlets, cosmic owl followers. Welcome to the Weirdly Cosmic podcast for the Leo full moon that's coming up on February the 16th at 9:56 a.m. Mountain. I'll go over local times when we get to the chart and show that. But first of all, I am Louise Eddington. I am the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, and thank you for joining me on my podcast. I'm an astrologer and author of 3 books. I have the 2 books here and one to be published very soon in March, so look out for that. But I'm the author of Modern Astrology and The Complete Guide to Astrology. The Complete Guide to Astrology is actually a bestseller on Amazon. Well, it's the number 3 today, but anyway, it has been a bestseller. And I'm very proud of them both, so I hope you'll check them out. I also offer consultations, and I have a membership community called the Cosmic Owl, called the Venus Enchantment Community. And I like to work with Venus. I'm pretty much obsessed with the planet Venus mostly. So first of all, a card for the full moon, then we'll have a look at the chart, and then we'll talk about everything. So the card I pulled for this full moon that's coming up is the Princess of Swords, and this is the mastery of practical thinking. The Princess of Swords really card is the mood fighter who's determined to use her sword, which represents clarity of mind, to fight any moods which are the dust storms that are around within herself. She actively prevents herself from getting engulfed in the moods of those around her. She is determined to apply her practical ideas in productive, useful ways, and that's the mushroom pedestal covered with coins. So that's there. Okay. And so the Princess of Swords is constantly regenerating her thinking, and that's the spring green colour of her gown and her butterfly wings, to see how her ideas can be cost effective. So that's the coins on the pedestal. Okay, because coins are definitely about kind of finances and earthly matters, but also nourishing to others beyond herself, and that's the mushroom. So we talked about that a little bit. This symbol reflects a need to act upon ideas rather than to just talk about them. The Princess of Swords is that state of consciousness where word and deed are aligned. Practical thinking requires that there be no difference between verbal commitment and external action. Well, I can really feel that one, to be quite honest. Where I'm recording this on the new moon in Aquarius, on the day of the new moon. It was earlier today. And I'm getting definite messages for myself and my clients and all of you to actually really start kind of cutting through all those dust storms, if you like, and the mood fighter, and kind of cutting out distractions and all those kind of things. For me, it's manifested a little bit by actually not unfriending, but just unfollowing a few people online, because there's a few contentious issues flying around at the moment, and if I unfollow them, I won't get involved in it at all. So this is a way of that. There's other ways of cutting it out: stopping watching news, which I don't really watch anyway. Just keeping cutting things out and really kind of working towards something in a practical way. So there you go, there's the card already. And so let's look at the chart for the Leo full moon. As I said, the Leo full moon is on February the 16th. So the 16 is a 7-day, and we have some 16s in the chart that I'll be talking about there. And it's a 6 year, it's 2022, as we know. So it's really creative year, and all those 3 2s, that's the 3 divine feminine numbers. We're really kind of moving into this creative energy. And the 16-7 number is a very highly spiritual number. So we'll look at that a little bit as well. And of course, it's the 2 month. So now we're in, the 2 month in a triple 2 year, a 6 year. So we're getting a lot of twos, a lot of rise of that divine feminine. So quick overview of the date. But the chart itself is quite interesting and a little bit challenging. So it's actually at the full moon is at 27 Leo, and a full moon is an opposition. So it's in opposition to the sun at 27 Aquarius. It is the fifth of six full moons at 27 degrees. The next full moon will be in Virgo, and that will be the last full moon at the 27 degrees. This one is almost at 28 degrees, but it is still at 27 degrees. So I'm calling it a 27 degree one. But it's in square to the lunar nodes. Now the lunar nodes moved back into into Scorpio and Taurus from Sagittarius and Gemini in January, and now we are moving into a whole different kind of realm of mode of action, of karma and dharma, karmic lessons and karmic potential or dharma. But this is a fixed grand cross, so I'll be talking about what that means as well. But not only that, we had a great American eclipse, right? So this is kind of very USA based, but it will, of course, ripple out to the whole world. And all of you perhaps remember this eclipse because it was a pretty major one. The eclipse moved right through the USA, splitting the country in half, pretty much. I was lucky enough to witness totality. I live in Utah, and we just drove up to Idaho, which is not far for the day, and were, in that wonderful moment of totality where the moon blocks out the entire ring of disk of the sun, and everything goes quiet, and the shadow falls over the earth. And a lot changed for me on that eclipse, but a lot changed for many of us. So that was on August the 21st, 2017, the Great American Eclipse, as it was called. And that eclipse was at 28 degrees of Leo. So this full moon is activating that eclipse. Just yesterday, as I record this, on January the 31st, I'm recording on February the 1st. On January the 31st, the lunar nodes actually exactly squared the degree of that eclipse. And now they are heading back to where the nodes were on that eclipse. They were at 24 degrees, or to square where the nodes were, because the nodes were at 24 degrees Leo and Aquarius then. So what this is forming in this chart is this fixed grand cross that is activating that eclipse. Now, I'm still always learning more and more about the eclipses, and I posted about it in a Facebook group I'm in, and somebody who seemed to study eclipses, whether it is right or not, said because of the length of the eclipse, the energy of that eclipse is echoing out for about 5 years. So this year. So it kind of makes sense because of the what's happening now, to be quite honest, as well. So anything that started for you, because that was a new moon solar eclipse, literal resets, starting new things, kind of eclipsing old things and really starting new things, it is kind of coming to fruition now. So this is a very big deal. So not only do we have this fixed grand cross with the sun in Aquarius, the moon in Leo, and the north node in Taurus, and the south node in Scorpio. The north node is conjunct Sedna, which is spiritual destiny through crisis. And the Sedna has just moved to the opposite side of the nodes to where all the planets have been contained in this draconic bowl pattern for quite some time. We have Sedna there, and Ceres has also moved beyond it. No other planet will move beyond this draconic bowl until Mercury does in April. Other notable things to mention, and I'll be talking about all of this, are that we have Venus and Mars conjunct at 16 degrees right on this full moon as well. And we've just, as I record this, come out of a Venus retrograde. Venus is moving direct, and Venus and Mars are actually going to meet twice, but this is one of their meetings, and they are meeting at 16 degrees, so we'll talk about that a little bit. But they are in a quincunx aspect to Black Moon Lilith. Now, I don't really count Black Moon Lilith as being in or out of the draconic bowl because she is at a point, but she is hovering in between Cancer. I use the true Black Moon Lilith, if anybody wonders. She has been hovering in between Cancer and Gemini, and on this particular full moon, she is in a quincunx to Venus and Mars, and the quincunx is kind of an aspect of adjustment, but it's one where we can, if we can really step into the possibilities, then we can really move forward. But it's not an easy aspect. The two signs and elements have nothing in common. Okay, so we have that as well, but we also have Lilith in a trine aspect to Saturn in Aquarius up here. He's not at the 16 degree mark, but they are definitely in aspect, and so we perhaps might be getting some clarity about where we're going, and some drive and ambition to move forward, with Black Moon Lilith, of course, being our kind of shame, our collective shame, but our wild part of ourselves, that part that's been shamed. In Gemini, she's kind of highlighting a lot of the energy we've had over the last couple of years with the eclipses and nodes traveling through Sagittarius and Gemini about our changing perspectives. So there's quite a lot to talk about there. So let's dive in. So the first thing I want to talk about is that we have a fixed Grand Cross, as I mentioned. Now, a fixed Grand Cross is, as you might imagine, is very tense. It's the most tense of the kind of Grand Cross energies, because cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, like to initiate change. The mutable signs really like change. They love changing. And so this fixed Grand Cross is not only like all squares and oppositions, all in kind of opposition to each other. I'm actually going to get rid of the chart so I can just talk to you. It's got a more stuck energy and kind of a difficulty moving forward beyond our troubles. And it's not a time of going with a flow with a fixed Grand Cross. It's about sticking to what's comfortable, favoring familiarity over risk, and yet it is a full moon asking for a release. And so this is kind of very tense. And to take it back to that new moon eclipse in 2017, it's pretty much a fulfillment of that eclipse because of it activating those degrees. And so it's saying it's time to break something that began then and time to let go of something and kind of move forward. So it is a tense time. This full moon is going to be pretty kind of intense. The full moon is also a super moon. It's going to be very, very close to the Earth. So we are going to kind of have that really energy of it really kind of impacting us. And it's a Leo full moon, which Leo is ruled by the sun. So it's in opposition to the ruler of the sign. And so we're going to have to look at both Leo energy and Aquarius energy. It's kind of about my sovereignty versus humanitarianism. And we see that playing out already, over time. And of course, we are moving into the age of Aquarius, and so the Leo moon opposing it is really kind of saying, which way are we going to go? All right. And are we going to be integrate? Are we going to be able to come together in the middle? Because that's really the answer to all of this fixed Grand Cross energy, is to integrate all the sides and to come into center, to integrate for this very pivotal time for all of us. And not only that, the full moon is the 5th of 6 at 27 degrees, and 5 is the number of change. So we've got all of that going on, of course. So to look in greater detail at the number 27 again, if you remember, we've done it 4 times now. This is the 5th. The 27 is the number of the bodhisattva. It's a real kind of number of compassion and empathy and tolerance and acceptance. And it might seem like it's not happening, but I am starting to see a little bit more kind of empathy and tolerance for each other's sides. There's still a lot of fighting, but the fighting seems to have taken on a little bit more of an ability to listen to the different sides. People reach their tolerance level and then have to dive out, but it does seem that there is a little bit more coming together. But the 27 is a selfless number, and it's concerned with the well-being of humanity as a whole. Now, what that means for everybody seems to be a little bit different, depending from what perspective you come from. But I am seeing a little bit more common ground coming. But 27 embodies love on a worldly scale. And to have 6 full moons at 27 degrees, coming into a 6 year, all those 2s, 2022, and the 6 being really a number of compassion and creation is kind of, I feel like, a very positive sign. So there's so much compassion, empathy, tolerance, and acceptance in the 27. And so this number knows that nothing separates us from others. We are really in everything together. So we're being asked to practice less judgment, no more judgment, and non-discrimination in all our dealings. All right. So the 27 in its selflessness is made up of the number 2, which we're in a 222 year anyway, and a 2 month for this. And 2 represents diplomacy, cooperation, and harmony. And that's the people skills really in the number 27. 2 is about really being very skilled in your interactions with people and helping them to work towards a common goal and inspiring them to be the best they can be. As I said, it's the number of the divine feminine, which is not about women. It's about the divine feminine of energy of cooperation and teamwork and moving together. So we've got that too. Then we've got the number 7, which of course we have showing up in those 16 degrees with Venus and Mars together. So I'll come back to that again. But 7 is about self-reflection, higher wisdom, transcendence, and a deeper connection to spirituality. So we combine those 2 numbers, and of course they add up to a 9. And 9 is the last of the single digit numbers, and it signifies both a beginning and an end. It's a completion and the beginning of starting something else. And we've had that this is the fifth, and we're having it one more time. And number 9 signifies kind of a divine grace in all the changes that are happening collectively. So it is reminding us to have faith in cycles that are ending and that new doors are opening as well. It's going to kind of lead to new things. 9 is also a number of tremendous generosity. As you know, if you look at the kind of number, it's drawn downwards with a spout of generosity, and it's a very rounded number. It's another very divine feminine number. And you know, I've talked about the 369 numbers and Tesla and understanding the meaning of the universe. So 369s, they're all very creative, collaborative numbers. So and very generous kind of numbers. 9 is the most humanitarian of all the single digits. It's goes in hand with this generosity. So, you know, we're getting this message over and over and over and over again with these 27s. So 27 is a lovely mixture of the 2, the 7, and the 9. That helps to make it this highly selfless, highly spiritual, very unique number. But it's quite a challenging number, to be quite honest. If you want to learn about the Bodhisattva, it's a Buddhist term for somebody that kind of takes vows to eliminate the 3 poisons, which are greed, hate, and ignorance. But it's a constant path to embody that yourself. The Bodhisattva is one who's vowed to do it, but it doesn't mean that they have literally always managed to do it. It can be quite a challenging number, the 27 as well. And it's one that they're working towards and then helping others to work towards. A bodhisattva or bodhisattva is one who has kind of taken those vows and has determined to help the world to achieve that as well. So the 27 is very in tune with this, with the deeper essence and things, and so it's again not an easy number. Some of these more kind of magical numbers are a challenge. My own name is a 27, and I can guarantee it's not all like light and gravy. It's a constant path to work towards. All right, so I'm sure you get that. So to look at Leo energy, we have this Leo full moon, and Leo is vitality and loyalty, but it's also kind of recognition and drama. And Leo is very affectionate, but it's also royalty. It's leadership, and it can be bombastic, and it can be a little bit overbearing and a little bit patronizing. So we're kind of going to get with this, especially with this fixed grand cross, we're kind of going to get the light and shadow of Leo. And of course, we aim to embody the light of it if we can, which is kind of more the affectionate, the fun, the magnanimous, the playful, all that kind of thing. But it can be very strong-willed. It can be unrelenting, and when Leo's at its best, it comes from the heart, because Leo rules the heart. But then, of course, it's an opposition to Aquarius. And Aquarius is really, Aquarius is an air sign. It's about individualistic freedom, but it's also a very paradoxical sign. It's a sign of intellect, but it's a sign of inventiveness. It's the sign of the malcontent. It's rebellious, but it's also reforming. But it's also humanitarian and genius and idealistic and unconventional. So, we're moving into this Leo, or we've been in it really since that time back in those eclipses in 2017, to be honest, of unpredictability and this tug of war between my sovereignty and what's good for everybody else. And of course, as I said, different people look at that different ways, depending on their views. However, it is a turning point, because the turning point is the fact that the eclipses are eclipsing all that energy back from 2017. Things are coming to fruition. I think something's gonna shift and break, I think. I'm not sure kind of which way. Interesting that the full moon is at 27 degrees, and by the time of this full moon, Pluto has moved to 27 degrees and 26 minutes of Capricorn. And that means that it's actually 7 solar arc minutes away from the exact first exact Pluto return for the USA. So I apologize again for being so USA centric, but this energy is affecting the USA in many big ways. And so it's really, this big transformation coming. And it's which way will we go? Are we up to the challenge, really? Are we able to challenge this, take the challenge of getting rid of these 3 poisons of greed, hate, and ignorance, and moving towards a more kind of enlightened society? I'm not altogether convinced that everybody will, but we all come to it at our level of consciousness, and maybe there's enough people kind of waking up to realize that we really have to work to find this common ground and to give it a little bit. So with the Leo being completely kind of my sovereignty, I kind of rule, if you want to look at it from the extremes, with Aquarius kind of being like let's look for the good of humanity moving forward. It's like, will we all each give a little bit and say, to be in this together, we kind of have to really kind of meet in the middle and maybe give up a little bit of the complete my sovereignty to but also make it not all kind of flat for everybody. You get the idea. I'm trying to be so politically correct about this because I'm actually kind of in the middle at the moment. I'm personally um so Venus and Mars meeting together in Capricorn, though, does give me some real hope, because Venus and Mars are meeting for the first of 2 times. They actually meet in early March at 0 Aquarius to really start their new cycle. And that 0 Aquarius degree is a really important degree also, because it's the degree of the great conjunction or great mutation when Jupiter and Saturn met at 0 Aquarius at the end of 2020. But not only that, the fact that Venus and Mars are meeting just a degree really away from the Venus star point, where the Venus and the Sun met in the middle of the Venus retrograde, indicates there's perhaps some potential here for really kind of coming together with our divine masculine and divine feminine meeting right at that Venus star point, where we are starting this Venus cycle of birth that takes us to 9.5 months to the exterior conjunction in October. That's going to be on October the 22nd. And guess what, though? That exterior conjunction of Venus and the Sun in October is going to be at 29 degrees of Libra. So it's going to be activating these degrees again, not directly, but it's going to be definitely activating them. It's going to be a sextile to the moon on this full moon and a trine to where the sun is. So there's a lot of patterns coming together, and at these end degrees, yes, the nodes move backwards, but we are at the end degrees, and the end degrees are finishing things up in the signs. So before we move into the new signs. So it's kind of at this critical juncture. Anyway, so, Venus Mars meeting together, divine masculine, divine feminine. You could say that's Adam and Eve meeting together if you want to speak of it in mythological terms. And then here we have this quincunx to Black Moon Lilith. And Black Moon Lilith was, Lilith was the original wife of Adam in the myth or story, whichever you want to talk about it as. And it's said that Lilith was made at the same time as Adam from dirt. They were both made, and meant to be kind of equal partners. But Adam decided he kind of wanted to, her to submit to him a little bit, and she wouldn't. And she was either thrown out or left Eden in a kerfuffle. And then she became the snake in the tree of knowledge in Eden, and tempted Adam and Eve to eat the apple of knowledge. You get the whole myth, but this story's kind of coming together. And here we have Black Moon Lilith in Gemini, which is about opening your mind and creating a new story. It's Mercury ruled. And they're kind of making an adjustment perhaps from this old story and coming together to really kind of create something new. So again, I do have some hope, especially because it's at that lovely 7, very spiritual number. So what else do I want to talk about in this? On the full moon, Mercury has actually moved to 1 degree of Aquarius, but has just moved past that 0 degree of Aquarius. That's so important as we move into the age of Aquarius. So that's Mercury is moving out of the shadow of his retrograde, with all these planets moving forward at breakneck speed till April the 29th. Pallas Athena has moved to 0 Aries. Our problem solver, the wise owl behind me, she has moved into Aries for new beginnings. She spent an inordinate amount of time in Pisces because of a retrograde there. But now she's in Aries. She's ready to say, take action on these new on solving our problems, okay? And each of us individually has to put ourselves into this in Aries. So I think that's pretty much all I want to say about the full moon. Oh no, I do want to say that Mercury and Ceres are both in aspect on this full moon. I'm going to share the chart again so you can quickly see. And they were partnered in the decuncentes. So they're in air signs, which is ideas, innovation, all that kind of stuff. Again, they're at 1 degree, which is the number of new beginnings. And Ceres and Mercury last year retrograde, or was it in 2020? I think it was 2020, actually retrograded on this exact same path of degrees. They are, in their own way, bridges between the worlds of humans and the gods. Too complex to go into that. Ceres, to my mind, is a little bit of potentially the one of the missing personal planets, representing the divine mother of how we nurture, how we love to nurture ourselves and others, and how we like to be nurtured. And she's also about the cycles of earth, of nature. And she's constantly giving us messages about what we're doing here. Now, Ceres has just crossed that north node and has, as I speak, as I record this, and is treading old ground past her retrograde. But I'm not going to go into all the dates of that. But she is definitely giving us a message of where we need to change our minds, where we need to start speaking to each other, and where we need to move into alignment. So there's a lot of coming together in this full moon, and I'm very hopeful about it. Yes, a full moon is a release and fulfillment, and it's a time of heightened emotions. I think this full moon is going to be off the charts emotionally, and it will trigger a lot of people, by the way, because so look out for, people being very triggered and wanting to be right and fixed and ideas. But if you're kind of moving forward personally in it, it's really um, kind of about what can you create? What part can you play in bringing things to center and bringing things together? In your own life, with your friends, how can you kind of start listening to the other, which is very much that Gemini with Black Moon, Lilith, and Ceres there. And moving towards that North Node, of course, constantly moving towards that North Node in Taurus. We're going to be there moving towards that, or called to move towards that, until July of 2023. And this is more about what sustains us, what are our real needs. It's about getting very much back in contact with the senses, with Earth, with what we create, and what we can, what's really here, physical, in whether you believe it's actually real or not, doesn't matter. It is from our perspective. And so it's about kind of getting down to earth again, is very much with that North Node in Taurus. So before I look at the symbols, because I always love to look at the symbols, I forgot to ask you to subscribe. So please subscribe while you're here watching or listening. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe and check that little bell. The more subscribers I have and the more the more viewers I have, the more visible the podcast gets. So feel free to share it as well if you like. If you like to listen, maybe if you have chance, go over to Apple Podcasts. Yes, Apple Podcasts, and leave me a review, hopefully a 5-star one, and leave me a few kind words. I always appreciate it. All these things kind of give us a little bit more visibility. So let me just check the chart again before I move on. I did want to say the nodes are at 26 degrees, which is 8, which is number of infinite possibilities. It's the infinity number if you turn the 8 on its side. It's a number of strength and courage. So we do have that 8 strength. There's a lot of strength in this. Unfortunately, that can lead to clashes, of course, but there's a lot of potential too. It's almost like the potentials are limitless, but will we step into them? Will we see them? And interestingly, the Sabian symbol speaks to this. So we go up, so we go to Leo 28 for the symbols. So the symbol, Sabian symbol, is many little birds on a limb of a big tree. The keynote from Rudyard was a wide and perhaps confusing openness to a multiplicity of inspiring possibilities. He says there's a stage in the spiritual life which is not different from the everyday life, during which the consciousness aspiring to greater realizations or more impressive forms of self-expression feels itself flooded with new ideas and new possibilities. This can be very exciting, yet also quite confusing and overwhelming, I'm going to say. It becomes necessary to focus oneself by limiting one's field of vision and activity. He says we should not try to be overwhelmed with potentialities, yet should enjoy the wonderful lightness of feeling this may bring after perhaps many days, months, or years of frustration or darkness. Now, I do feel we're kind of moving into that part collectively to speak to these potentialities. The quincunx between Venus and Mars and Black Moon Lilith is one of potential. Ceres has moved beyond the North Node, so we're seeing the potential. All the planets are moving direct, all the major planets are moving direct from February the 3rd till April the 29th, excuse my dog. And so that's very forward movement. We're moving forward. But it's may feel a little bit like we've been taken off with G-force, like we're going at the speed of light or whatever, and it's like our faces are going back, and we're on liftoff, and it may be very overwhelming, and that's when it kind of gets a bit overwhelming and tempting to kind of just step back and go, I can't do this. So, it is potential, it's powerful, but are we up for the challenge? So let's look at the Chandra symbol for the full moon. A tapestry loom. On it is a half-finished tapestry. Karmic process restricts the self, curbs the self, dictates what must happen to the self. A work upon yourself, and far more strongly an outer plane's self-discipline, has been in progress a long time. It must be resumed, taken further, no matter what. Unfortunately, this often means imposing duties upon yourself presumptively. You just do what you have to do, but if the heart is not in it, work becomes mechanical. A dilemma faces you at recurrent crossroads: to stay with what has been set up or to introduce innovations. Any such innovations represent a huge issue, but without them, the inner core of self is shortchanged and the outer mind takes over. You are being propelled by a greater destiny current to honor all karmic agreements and to enhance these by bringing into play a vitally engaged, present time, attentive willingness to be surprised. Excuse my dog. Meet things from another side and realize that everything is just beginning now and needs to be met with real passion. And that's one thing about Leo as well. And incidentally, I will put this this symbol in the show notes. Leo is passion. Okay. So, it is a Leo full moon, and it is a super moon. It's very close. We're going to be filled with this creative passion, but it is, with that fixed ground cross, it is overwhelming. We kind of feel we're at this crossroads, and the nodes have moved and the planets are all moving direct, and we're coming slowly out of this draconic bowl, and it's a big challenge, and we have to be courageous. That 26 degrees of the nodes, the 8, which is the 2 and the 6 again, the 6 year, the 2. Are we up for creating all these potentials? Are we up for finishing this tapestry of life and moving forward? Whew. I like those words. So anyway, what amazing times we're in. Okay, next month we move into a new moon that's not at 12 degrees. We've just had 5 new moons. Or is next new moon at 12 degrees? I can't actually remember. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to tell you, because we've just had a new moon that was at 12 degrees, and we were having 5. I'm getting so confused now. I know we have the next new moon is the 5th of 5 new moons at 12 degrees, and that's one's going to be at 12 degrees of Pisces on March the 2nd, 2022. So lots more twos again. And it's conjunct Jupiter. Oh my God, that one's going to be so emotional. I'm telling you now, I'm just looking at the chart quickly. Then, then we have the final full moon at 27 degrees, and that full moon is going to be at 27 degrees of Virgo. And I'm just quickly looking at the chart for that, and wow as well. So come back, subscribe, leave me comments, leave me questions. I'm always willing to answer questions about these podcasts. But what times we're in, and I'm just looking at these charts. And then by March the 18th, after we have the final full moon at 27 degrees, the final one of 6, we start really moving into a whole different phase in April. And when Pluto turns retrograde at the end of April, things are going to start looking very different. So, oof, boy, oh boy. So again, you can find me, by the way, you can find me at louiseedington.com, LouiseEdington.com, Cosmic Owl Astrology on Facebook and Instagram. Please follow me on all those places. I'm also on Twitter, but I don't tweet much really. It's not my favorite platform. But I also, as I mentioned, I do consultations. I've just started writing horoscopes for tarot.com as well. And my third book will be coming out in March. So watch this space for information about that. I think that's everything for now. Whew. This is going to be intense, people. So buckle up and kind of gird your loins a little bit. Have courage, have strength, and come and get support if you need some support. So from Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, bye.